In this video, we are going to discuss the quartiles of group data. So for our objectives, number 1, discuss how to compute the quartiles of group data. And number 2, compute for the quartiles of group data. The formula for the quartile of group data is equal to Q sub k is equal to B sub L plus I times the quantity of Kn over 4 minus Cf sub p all over F sub c, where B sub L is the lower class boundary of Q sub k class, I is the size of the class interval or the class size, Cf sub b is the largest cumulative frequency lower than Kn over 4, F sub c is the frequency of the Qk class, and N is the number of observations or total frequency. So this is the formula for the quartile of group data. So let us have this example. So we are going to identify the following: the Kn over 4, the Qk class or the quartile class, B sub L, the I, Cf sub b, F sub c, then we are going to compute for Q sub 1 or the first quartile. So we are given here the class interval, the frequency, and the cumulative frequency. So to find the Q sub 1 or the first quartile, compute for Kn over 4, where n is the sum of the frequencies. So by substitution, Kn over 4 is equal to 1 since we are looking for the first quartile. So our K here is equal to 1 times 30, or the value of n here, or the total frequency divided by 4. So that is 7.5. Our Kn over 4 is equal to 7.5. So next, determine the class interval with the least cumulative frequency greater than or equal to Kn over 4. So our Kn is 7.5. So the cumulative frequency greater than 7.5 is this 67 to 69 with cumulative frequency 8. So now this is our first quartile class or the Q sub 1 class. Take note of the cumulative frequencies lower than Kn over 4 or lower than 7.5, and denote the highest among them with Cf sub b. And here, the cumulative frequency lower than 7.5 is this one here. And this is also the highest. So this is our Cf sub b. So next, find the lower class boundary B sub L in the frequency F sub c. That is using this 67 plus 66 divide 2, that's our BL. And 67 plus 66 divide 2, that's 66.5. And our F sub c, or the frequency of the quartile 1 class, is 7. And next, determine the class size. The class size here is 3, that's 64, 65, 66, so here 3. 67, 68, 69, 3. 79, 80, 81, so 3. The class size is 3. So now, since you already have the value of B sub L, which is 66.5, the class size I, which is 3, Kn over 4, that's 7.5, Cf sub b, that's 1, and F sub c, 7, we just have to substitute this value in solving for Q sub 1. So in solving for Q sub 1 or the first quartile, we have this formula B sub L plus I times the quantity of Kn over 4 minus CF sub B all over F sub C. So by substitution, our BL is 66.5 plus the class size 3 times the quantity of Kn over 4, that's 7.5, minus CF sub B, which is 1 all over 7, or the F sub C. And that is, the first quartile is approximately 69.29. So in this lesson, please answer activity 6b.7. Do we have part of S that is equal? And now, let's discuss deciles of group data. And for our objectives, we have discuss how to compute the deciles of group data and compute for the deciles of the group data. So the deciles of group data. The formula for the decile of group data is equal to D sub k is equal to B sub L plus I times the quantity of Kn over 10 minus Cf sub B all over F sub C, where BL here is the lower class boundary of the decile class, I is the size of the class interval, Cf sub B is the largest cumulative frequency lower than Kn over 10, F sub C the frequency of the decile class, and N here is the number of observations or total frequency. Let us have this example. Using the same frequency distribution table which we had in quartiles for group data, identify the following: Kn over 10, the decile class, P sub L, the I, Cf sub B, F sub C, then compute for D sub 7 or 7th decile. So below is the frequency distribution for the student's proposed length of recess break. So we have here this data. So to find the 7th decile or D sub 7, compute for Kn over 10, where n is the sum of the frequencies. So that is Kn over 10 is equal to 7. Our k is equal to 7 since we are looking for the 7th decile or D sub 7 times 30, or the value of n, since the total of frequency here is 30 over 10, and that is 7 times 30 over 10, that's 21. Next, determine the class interval with the least cumulative frequency among those cumulative frequencies greater than to Kn over 10, and our Kn over 10 is 21. So the cumulative frequency greater than to 21 is this 29. Here, therefore, our decile 7 class is 76 to 78, since its cumulative frequency is greater than 21, or the Kn over 10. So take note of the cumulative frequencies lower than Kn over 10 or lower than 21. So this are 18, 15, 8, and 1. And denote the highest among them with Cf sub B. So among them, the highest is 18. Therefore, this is our Cf sub B. Now, let's find the lower class boundary B sub L and the frequency F sub C. So, in finding the lower class boundary, that is just the mean of 76 and 75. So that is BL is equal to 76 plus 75 over 2. That is 75.5. Our B sub L is 75.5. For the frequency of the 7th decile class, that is 11. And determine the class size. So here the class size is 3. So that's 64, 65, 66. The class size is 3. 67, 68, 69, the class size is 3. 79, 80, 81, the class size is 3. It's just the same with the previous frequency distribution table in example 3. So since we have now the value of B sub L 75.5, I which is 3, Kn over 421, Cf sub B 18, and F sub C 11. So in solving for the 7th decile, or D sub 7, we have to use this formula. So D sub 7 is equal to B sub L plus I times the quantity of Kn over 10 minus Cf sub B all over F sub C. So that is by substitution. The value of B sub L is 75.5. So 75.5 plus 3, the value of the class size, times the quantity of 21, or the value of Kn over 10, minus 18, the value of Cf sub B all over 11, which is the value of F sub C. And that is the 7th decile, or the D sub 7, is approximately 76.30